The Broncos have a ready-made replacement in Test representative Peter Jackson on the comeback trail after an ankle injury. Question is, can those State of Origin reps fire up today? But I guess, David, if they have a think about last year, they most certainly will.
Plenty of incentive there for them, Bill. Lewis, Langer, Hancock, Curry, Miles and Walters are being required to line up again, but they're top-class players. There's the majority of them in that little group right there, the State of Origin representatives, minus Wally Lewis, and I'm sure that's exactly what they're talking about.
Well, despite being the obvious underdogs, the Seagulls side, there's Ronnie Gibbs. The Seagulls Gold Coast team has 10 survivors from the team that beat the Broncos last year. The new faces are the fullback Terry Dardengo, the New South Wales country representative of last year, centre Peter Benson, the man the Broncos didn't want at the end of last season. He's up against his old club today, and skipper Bob Lindner, who came to the Coast for a stint with Parramatta. His obvious experience against his old Origin teammates at the Broncos camp will be invaluable. The new recruits of the Giants team, well, they really are a powerful pack of forwards, and I think that's where their big thing will be today. The referee today, Eddie Ward, today participating in his 4th Winfield Cup game of the season.
Getting ready for the kick-off here at Lang Park today. Mentioning Eddie Ward, this will be his debut match here for this year in the Winfield Cup, David.
Certainly would be, Bill. Eddie Ward, the last time he refereed here was against Parramatta in a Broncos-Parramatta match last season. He was roundly criticised by John Money after that match. Money said he should never referee a Broncos match at home again. Ironically, he never refereed another Broncos game in 1988. This year, his 3rd appearance in first grade.
Alrighty, Wally Lewis getting ready to kick off and taking plenty of time to place that ball. Just having a look at the early matches today in the reserve grade. It was a win for the Gold Coast Giants. They defeated the Broncos by 8-4 after the Broncos led by 4-2 at half-time. And in the earlier match in that, the Queensland final of the Commonwealth Bank Cup, a win for Wynnum High School. They defeated the Roma College of Southwest Queensland by 28 points to 6. And that means that Wynnum go on to play Holy Cross Ride at Bathurst on Wednesday night in the Commonwealth Bank Cup.
Very famous name, and that there this afternoon, Bill, was the name of Jeff Wittenberg, the son of John Wittenberg. Just looks like the chip off the old block. Tall and blonde and very tough.
And pretty tough, all right. Played quite well. So there's the Giants down inside their own territory, and they're going to put a boot underneath it, and that's G driving it down towards the Broncos. Big crowd out here. That's kicking on the 4th tackle, by the way. Big crowd out here today at Lang Park for this one, and down on the touchline in front of a big crowd in the Frank Burke stand is Tony Durkin.
Yes, Bill, a marvellous crowd and marvellous atmosphere here at Lang Park today. 23,000 is the Broncos record. I wonder if they'll go near that at Lang Park today. As I said, a big crowd. Someone who's in the crowd today and not quite as nervous as this time last year, former chairman of the Giants Consortium, Bobby Hagan, and much more relaxed today, Bob.
Certainly am, Tony, yes. I think a great showing, though, from the Giants, and I think they've come of age when people have come out in such great numbers today, and the Giants are now being recognised, and they're not far off being a very good side, and I think they'll give a great account of themselves today.
Bob, the local derby, something that you wanted to start, some kind of a trophy. Do you think that could eventuate?
Yes, it certainly will, and it'll always be a pre-season trial, and then the home and away situation where we only play once a year. So I think it's a great local derby.
You like the Giants' chances today?
I think they'll give a very good showing of themselves. They're a great defensive team. They do have a trouble in scoring a try or two, but they'll be there when it's counted.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
So now we see Bagnall getting up to play it, just 10 metres short of the halfway line. Billy Johnston away from dummy half. He does dummy and then goes straight ahead, pulled out about 5 metres short of halfway.
Bit of feeling in this match already, Bill. It's got all the ingredients of a local derby. There's plenty of feeling between both sets of forwards. Also, Wally Lewis had a little bit of a tate-to-tate with Troy McCarthy a little while ago. So certainly plenty of feeling. And the Giants are fired up for the match. There's McCarthy over the top again.
Michael Hancock with a very bright iridescent pair of togs on underneath his short set today as the big crowd saw out here at Lang Park. That's Duffy playing it back to Walters. Outside to Langer. He finds Miles running up the centre. Big Gino out of the first tackle. That of Chris Close. Coming up there was Peter Smith on that occasion, and eventually held up by Johnston and also Gibbs. That's Langer getting it outside to Curry. Curry through nicely, sends a pass out to Kilroy up over the quarter line. Then go to beat, cuts back inside, can't get away from the big fullback who puts him into touch also.
Beautiful passage of play, Broncos. Dardingo nicely there to cover the run by Joe Kilroy. Looked like he could try and make it on his own. He had Peter Jackson on the inside, elected to do it all on his own. Beautiful break, Tony Curry. Little wrap around Lewis Langer. Found Curry coming in from behind. Half break, an opportunity. The Broncos showing they're willing to move the ball quickly.
Waiting for this scrum to back down. Referee Eddie Ward having a bit to say to both teams. In by Bagnall. He'll swing it across. That's G of Dardingo rather trying to find a way up.
Punch up in the back play. The scrum has erupted.
Gibbs
As we said, there was plenty of feeling. Big stuff there from Donnelly coming in as we follow the football at the moment.
It's they're still in a bit of a scuffle over there. Nobody's made any attempt to get a cross over there at this stage. Now they're all broken up, and we'll get back into the field of play. Eddie Ward having a bit of a look across there, but no touch judges, nobody worried about it. This is close to about 20 metres short of the halfway mark.
Rest assured at the next break of play, the touch judges will be in to report it.
I think it might be Peter Smith and James Donnelly and Ron Gibbs, the men called out as well.
So here's a kick by Dardengo down to his opposite number in Duffy. Duffy straight ahead, but Troy McCarthy's there to grab him, and he'll put him to the ground. About to play it away from dummy half is Hancock. Skirting up the centre he goes, but picked up on the tackle up there by Gibbs. Dummy half is Walters. Back over to Langer, to Lewis. Outside over there to Jackson. Jackson going to be well wrapped up in the tackle coming around from Benson. He'll play it though. Dummy half Walters. Penalty coming up. Giants a little bit too keen on that occasion.
Bobby McCarthy there, the Gold Coast coach, and he would be quite satisfied thus far with at least the feeling in his side. As we see now the both touch judges in to make the report, presumably from the previous scrum. They've certainly got one of the combatants, and that was James Donnelly. Jim Cowell, the other man, and Eddie Ward taking the report.
Okay, 4.5 minutes into the first half. We'll take a break here at Lang Park. So the referee has taken the report from the touch judges following that bit of a break-up over there, and a penalty has gone to the Broncos, the score remaining 0-0. Just one thing, David, when I see Bobby McCarthy up there with the two-way in the grandstand, two-ways are not allowed on the ground as of now.
Yeah, good move that, Bill. I think it was getting to a ludicrous stage where coaches were actually issuing instructions to teams grouped around them in any stoppage of play around the two-way system. Just not on. Let's get the players play the football out in the football field.
Terry Madison signed up during the week for the Broncos for another couple of years, which is good news. So the dummy half is Walters. He'll turn it back
forward,
over there.
Yes, forward pass and offside. Eddie Ward's decided not only was it a forward pass, but James Donnelly was in front of Kerrod Walters at the time the pass was thrown. A number of times we see a lot of Sydney referees or referees refereeing in the Sydney competition only call that just a forward pass and not an offside play. And instead of a scrum, the Gold Coast Giants get a relieving penalty.
And it brings play up to about a metre short of the halfway mark, so they'll take the tap from there. Well, we expected a bit of feeling to be in this match, and that's certainly the way it has eventuated so far, as Peter Smith goes to the ground with the ball about 9 metres inside Broncos territory. Bagnall turns it outside, coming up there as Cowell. He in turn sends it back inside to Chris Close.
Brett LeMan down injured.
Away from dummy.
No, it might be Gene Miles, I think.
Johnston swings it away to Benson. Benson cutting back inside. He got away from Lewis. Still going, and is eventually put to the ground. Away from dummy half, Troy McCarthy. He's going to be bowled over in the tackle of Walters.
Terry Madison it was who was injured.
Back onto his feet and now making his way back over towards that back line, but he doesn't look too hot at the moment. Meanwhile, back it comes this time. Going to ground with it will be Bobby Lindner. Lindner backing up, of course, from Tuesday night. Final tackle, a little kick through, picked up nicely by Curry. He dummies to the Phantom out there on the wing and then kept going.
Not much chance Scott Meany taking that dummy.
Well, there was no one there. This is Dowling straight ahead, about a metre short of the halfway mark. Walters the dummy half, 0-0 the score. Walters goes himself, the characteristic run from dummy half, and saw a big one from him on Tuesday night. Really split that New South Wales defence open there. Madison leaving the field, it looks like. Going to the head bin, I'd say. Jackson over the top, can't be picked up by Duffy. Lost by Kilroy, flies towards the touchline, then rolls back. Duffy dives at it, retains possession for the referee to play the knock-on.
To play the knock-on, and there is a replacement. Tony Durkin on the sideline.
Terry Madison going to the head bin for the Broncos. He's been replaced by Mark Hone, who's a fresh replacement or a fresh reserve in this match.
He's out there wearing number 27. Bagnall sending it across to G. Dardengo into the back line, but Lewis is up there to take him ball and all. No chance of getting past Walter on that occasion. So going to ground with it is Gonzalez. So this is Bagnall now turning around. Lost the ball in the tackle as he's knocked over there by Hone. Broncos will come away with possession. James Donnelly, the man who ended up with it. This is Gene Miles. Fairly keen defence from the Gold Coast Giants in the early part of this match. Walters to dummy half. They're 10 metres inside the Giants' territory.
Terry Madison there just being checked out. Not in very good condition at all.
Lost by Jackson. I might just point out, David, we're not using wet weather balls here this afternoon. And we did have a couple of heavy showers prior to the match, and in reserve grade they had a heck of a time with their handling.
Yeah, something I don't agree with, Bill. There's still potential for further showers, and that's where the wet weather ball really comes into its own. It's got that synthetic dimpled surface, and certainly lends itself to good handling.
So now we'll see a kick for touch. Dardengo finding touch about 24 metres out from the Broncos line. So they'll take the tap up there. Coming onto the mark is Ron Gibbs. Gibbs in turn sends it outside to Meaney. Dummy half waiting up there for it is Johnston to G. Then away to Smith. Smith straight up the centre, but put down in the tackle by Brett LeMan. So out to G, turns it back inside, coming through is Cowell. Cowell in the starting lineup today to take the place of Keith Neller. In the corresponding match last year, he came on to take the place of Neller during the game.
Jim Cowell, ex-Redcliffe front row, a fiery customer, but certainly would love nothing more than to put in a good one against the Brisbane team.
So Bagnall out to G, looks back inside. Dardengo, who props. They didn't seem quite sure where they were going on that occasion. Final tackle coming up as Bagnall sends it outside. Lindner with a little kick through, came off the foot of over there of Donnelly, straight in the hands of Gene Miles.
Couldn't do much about it there, Gene Miles. As you say, Bill, straight to him. Let's have a look at it. Just flicked off the foot there of Donnelly, straight to Gene Miles as he was trying to retrieve in an offside position. A penalty to the Gold Coast, an opportunity for Peter Benson to put the first points on the board.
While he's lining up for that, here's Tony Durkin.
Interesting to note that Peter Benson is kicking today. Troy McCarthy was the #1 goal kicker for the Giants last year when he did play in the top grade, but I was talking to Bob McCarthy before the match. I asked him who was kicking, and he told me Peter Benson. Then he sang out to Peter Benson, who was sitting about 5 seats away, and said, "Benno, you're kicking today." So Peter Benson hasn't had to stew over this problem throughout the week.
Well, as a matter of fact, McCarthy in this match last year, the corresponding game of the Coast, he put over 4 goals in that win for the Giants.
It's been a good start here from the Gold Coast Giants. They have really put it to the Broncos in the early minutes. The Broncos normally, in recent matches at least, have been able to put early points on the board. Hasn't been the case thus far.
So Benson back onto his mark. Little bit of breeze coming from left to right on his kick, but it won't worry him. He puts it straight through the centre. So the Gold Coast Giants open up a lead here at Lang Park of 2 points to 0.
And a very important lead too by the Gold Coast side. The 8th goal for Peter Benson in the season, 22 points. Interesting to note, David, in this game last year, he came on as a replacement for Rowan Tevan for the Broncos against the Gold Coast, but here he is out there, a shadow selection player too for State of Origin in '89.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He's been performing extremely well this season. He had a couple of unhappy games for the Broncos last year, but he's turned his form around this year and out to prove the point.
Restart of play by Wally Lewis, driving it down inside the Gold Coast quarter line, and it's picked up by Dardengo, who immediately feeds Scott Meaney, and he takes play right to the centre of the quarter line. Billy Johnston is the man at dummy half, feeding Cowell, wrapped up by Donnelly, who got involved in an earlier skirmish with Cowell. But players settle down with suits of bright attacking football, a couple of handling errors. There's Peter Smith. Back from a hand injury. We notice the hand is still pretty heavily strapped, but a penalty. The Broncos are up inside the 5.
Well, there was some balking there at the play the ball. Brett LeMan lifts his hands to the sky. Wally Lewis also says a couple of words. The play the ball was not a continuous movement at all. A little bit of a balk at the play the ball, upset the defensive line. They took one pace forward. Eddie Ward wouldn't permit it. And another penalty now to the Gold Coast.
Well, Mark Hone on the field for the injured Terry Madison, who's in the head bin. And that must be a bit of a problem for the Broncos camp, David, because I think it's the 3rd time this year that Madison has been forced off with some sort of head injury.
Yes, a couple of times he's come back then wearing headgear, so Terry Madison will want to be very careful that things are completely okay.
Here's the Coast with Johnson. Got the pass out the back door for Bagnall. They can't take their eye off this little fellow today. Superb halfback from the Gold Coast. Now they move it again. It goes out through G to Benson. Can he step on the outside? Got the pass to Gonzalez. And Gonzalez got the pass on the outside to Benson, but it was ruled forward. It's a Broncos ball inside their own quarter line.
Joe Kilroy down injured once again. He was injured a little while ago, but the Gold Coast once again starting to show some attacking flair. An amazing statistic with the Coast. They played 9 matches this year and have only scored 78 points in 9 games. In one of those matches, they scored 34. So simple deduction, 54 points in 8 games they've managed to score, which is not the best attacking by any means, but they have shown some good skills today.
Conversely, the Broncos have scored 38 tries and 19 in the last 3 games. Is this another one coming up for Hancock? The cover defence is there. Gee, Troy McCarthy has been totally committed in defence here today for the Gold Coast side. Now Curry, the kick and chase by the Broncos. Probably not the right tactics on that occasion. It's picked up by Dardengo, and he's beautifully picked off by Alan Langer.
Inexplicable tactic, that one from Tony Curry. Only the 4th tackle. The Broncos had made a good break on the left-hand side. They had all their players on the right, with the Gold Coast fairly thin, and simply kicked it away.
And that's allowed the Giants to come outside their own quarter. Billy Johnston runs from dummy half and switched it back infield to close. And I'd say this is the first time that two great centre heroes from Queensland State of Origin history, Gene Miles and Chris Close, have lined each other in the second row. I wonder, back in 1981, whether they thought they'd be doing this in 89.
Good point. I wonder if in 1990 they line up in the front row.
It's back now for Duffy, the fullback. He decides to run the ball, but he's picked off in the tackle right on the quarter line. And it's the Gold Coast leading this football match by 2 points to 0. Round 10 of the Winfield Cup. With memories of that Mother's Day massacre last year, 25-22. And Terry Madison about to come back onto the field. So the replacement has now been made. Terry Madison still looks a bit groggy.
Well, he got caught up in the Mother's Day massacre. Where did we get this one from, Porto?
Great alliteration.
Oh, dear.
So play on the halfway line. Restart of play by Walters. It goes to Dowling, then to Langer. Straightening up play was Donnelly. In fact, it was Duffy, the fullback, who chimed in, took play over halfway. Kerrod Walters trying to dart away from dummy half, but gee, this Gold Coast defence is there. That was Jim Cowell leading the way, but he didn't get off the tackle player, and referee Eddie Ward quite rightly is calling him out.
Well, Jim Cowell absolutely all over little Kerrod Walters there. Walters tried to duck out of the dummy half position. There's Cowell falling all over the top of him. The giveaway, the hands in the air. Eddie Ward gives the penalty and a lecture.
Well, Tony Durkin right in front of you.
Yes, certainly he was guilty of that. But just an interesting observation on that replacement in the head bin. The fact that Terry Madison has gone back on and replaced Mark Hone, that counts as one replacement for the Broncos. So even though Mark Hone is able to come back onto the field, they have in effect made a replacement for the Broncos.
Joey Kilroy just 3 metres short. The Broncos searching for try number 1. Oh, that's a penalty. No, it's not. The referee, I was certain that Joe Kilroy is impeded there. A replay will probably show it, but referee Eddie Ward certainly in a better position. Let's have a look at it.
Well, there's the hand by Bagnall. Without a doubt, had his left hand in there. Joe Kilroy appeals. It will do him no good, and the Giants have won the scrum.
They're only about 10 metres out from their own goal line. So a test now for the Broncos defence to try and keep them down there. It's been a bright start by the Gold Coast side. There's certainly, as Bob McCarthy said in his pre-match interview, no need to motivate this side here this afternoon. Dowling coming over the top. Walters underneath in defence. Billy Johnston is the dummy half. Back now for Dardengo. Long kick downfield by G. Taken by Duffy. Good chase by the Gold Coast side. They've pinned Duffy down inside his own half.
Those two passes there from the dummy half to finally get the kick away can turn out to be an advantage for some kicking sides. It does really buy more time for your chasers to get downfield and surround the fullback. Peter Jackson on 1 foot. That ankle is not 100%.
Lewis now feeding Miles on the blind side. The big Gino Gibbs came over the top. I think he had other intentions that he pulled out of then. Jackson now trying to exploit the blind side. That pass a yard forward, and Gene Miles in fact in an offside position.
Peter Jackson doesn't seem to have the balance that he would like. Obviously with a sore ankle makes it very difficult to position yourself. There's the pass from Jackson straight to Gene Miles. Probably a bit unfortunate there. The Broncos could easily have been simply a forward pass and a scrum, but Eddie Ward taken to the letter of the law. The second time we've seen an offside penalty for the forward pass.
Now Johnson with the tap restart for Bagnall. Goes to G, holding the pass up. Oh, good defence and good solid running that time from Chris Close. Johnson. That Broncos defence up in the one line. Johnson again a dummy half. Got it away to Smith. Walters went low. Over the top was Gene Miles. Now Johnston for Bagnall. He spotted the gap. Geez, a smart little player, this Jeff Bagnall. Johnston using the blind side again with G for Ronnie Gibbs, who really hasn't been all that involved in attack in the opening 18 or 19 minutes of this first half. Final tackle now for the Gold Coast side, right on attack. G putting it high in the air with the left boot. It's not a good kick. It's been taken by the Coast. It comes out the back door. Finally to Bagnall. This attack is not yet over. Finally dived on by Curry, and the Broncos breathe a sigh of relief. They've been under pressure, but they've survived it.
Well, the kick there initially by G, the good high ball. Really, the Broncos were not interested in trying to take it on the full for fear of knocking on, allowed the Coast to clear go at it, and really gave them a second attack.
Gene Miles takes it outside the quarter. Now Walters. They're going to have to watch him from that dummy half spot. He's opened the Gold Coast side up 2 or 3 times. Now Langer. Out for Miles. The long pass for Lewis. He read it well. Looked for the pass. There was no that was Dowling had overrun it. So Lewis had to take the tackle on tackle number 5. So he'll be involved in the kicking game. Will it be Gene Miles? It's back now for Duffy. An unfamiliar role. And for that very, very reason, Duffy puts the ball out on the full. So Lewis had to take the 5th tackle, and they were forced to use Duffy in that kicking role.
Change over.
Duffy also had at that stage that wild Ron Gibbs coming straight at him too.
So a chance now for the Gold Coast side from that turnover. It's to Bagnall. Look at him from that standing start. Billy Johnston runs from dummy half. Settles play 8 metres out in front of the goalpost. Cowell is the man that will assume the dummy half role. He puts the head down. One out stuff by the Gold Coast side at the moment. Here's a chance, turning it back for Smith, and it's dived on by Kerrod Walters. But certainly, Billy, a lot of pressure.
Yes, they're doing the job all right at this stage, the Giants, but that's been the story of their matches, hasn't it? So many of them, they've stayed in touch till about the last 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, but it's the style that I like, the way they're doing things today, Bill. They really seem to be putting things together. A drop ball there only came about because of some... Oh, Donnelly has been absolutely decked there by Peter Smith. They call him the hitman, and he has knocked Donnelly flying.
Meanwhile, it carries out here to McCarthy. McCarthy straight ahead is going to be tackled and put to the ground by Jackson.
Have a look at this. Donnelly had lost the ball, and then Smith, a big shoulder charge.
And both of them are still down injured at the moment, I might add.
Wow, that is body contact.
Body contact, all right. John Broncos ending up with the ball via Tony Curry. Walters away from dummy half outside. Gene Miles got his pass outside to Duffy. They nearly cleared those players out in the centre there. Donnelly not too hot at the moment, nor is Smith, I might add. The trainer's having to lift him up, and that's a job in itself. Here's Kilroy on the loose down the grandstand touchline. Benson comes at him, but he manages to still cut back inside and avoid going into touch. Good play.
And has the ball stolen from him. Eddie Ward awards a penalty to the Brisbane Broncos. But really, the Giants had to do something there to delay play. Will Lewis look for the quick tap? Yes, off they go again.
And back it comes this time to Jackson. Jackson going to be held up, and he gets his pass back behind him. LeMan keeps it going to Dowling. Dowling outside, then to Hancock. He's caught up in the middle of it all there. And he, in turn, is going to be held up by McCarthy. So away from the play, the ball. Outside to Dowling. He turns it back inside to Donnelly, back into action now. From the play, the ball, Walters outside to Langer. Langer to Lewis. Lewis gets it away to Gene Miles. Over the top to Kilroy. Cuts back inside. Got away from Lindner. Now he gets it to Walters. Walters with a little kick through, but taken it a touch by Dardengo.
Well, the Giants really desperate to cover things. Kerrod Walters did the loop on the outside of Joe Kilroy. There was some desperate defence by Bobby Lindner to try and hold things. Here it is. Joe Kilroy back on the inside. Kerrod Walters on the out. Went wrong-footed Bobby Lindner. Great take that one by Dardengo. Saved the day for the Giants.
Well, they took him well and truly out too, didn't they? No worries about that one.
Loose head and feed Brisbane. Good opportunity to go on the attack.
Referee Eddie Ward bringing play across over in centre field a little more. 3 scrums have gone the way of the Giants so far. In by Langer. You can make it 3-1 as Langer picks it up. Have a look at the Coast getting up very smartly outside. Lewis working across field. Now he gets it away to Duffy. Duffy going to be wrapped up by the 2 centres, Benson and McCarthy. Langer from the play, the ball to Jackson. Jackson away to Hancock, who had to reach forward to take it, and that's all he worried about. He'll play it back to Curry. Curry to Jackson. Jackson to Curry, doubling around. Got to be wrapped up, thrown to the ground by Gibbs and Cowell combining in the tackle. Here's Walters. Outside to Dowling, to Lewis, then across to Miles up the centre. But eventually pulled down 10 metres out from that line by Bobby Lindner. Walters, dummy half. He gets it away to Langer. Langer working right across field, still going as Alfie. Got it away this time to Brett LeMan. Away to Kilroy. This will be try number 1. He's over in the corner. No try.
Right at the last minute, the touch judge decided it was no try. He looked at it for quite some time. it was appeared that Eddie Ward was going to award the try, and then just at the last minute, look at that from Langer. Good work also, Brett LeMond, to get him behind the winger in Ben Gonzalez. Does Kilroy get it down? Dingo, great tackle. Kilroy was taken over into the touch and goal area. Good decision, it looked like, and the Giants desperate in defence.
Ron Gibbs down injured in the back plane, as the Giants with Cow getting up to play. Johnston dummy half. Well, the match has had plenty going for it so far in the first 24 minutes of the action here at Lang Park. So still the Gold Coast team leading by 2 points to 0. And going to ground with it this time is Gibbs. Johnston. Billy Johnston working up the centre. Almost got away from Donnelly. Got it back to Gibbs, who was immediately taken by the defence. Gene Miles coming in to get him. LeMond combined also in the tackle. They swing it back to Dardengo, looking for the big kick from the fullback, and there it goes, down towards Michael Hancock. Hancock playing with supreme confidence these days, setting sail up the centre, couldn't get away from Lindner, who pulled him down 10 metres short of the halfway mark. So away from dummy half. Brett LeMond decides to have a bit of a run, sends it back to Hancock, just getting his breath back, but he still works his way to the halfway mark. Knocked there, and another penalty coming up.
Second tackle undoubtedly there by Peter Smith. Hancock was definitely put to the ground. Smith came in a little bit too late, and penalty go to the Broncos. At the moment, the penalty count 5 apiece.
So now we see Wally Lewis to kick the touch. Tony, talking about supporters here for the Giants, there's quite a crew of them over here on our side of the ground. What about your side?
Yes, quite a few over here too, Bill. It's interesting to note Peter Smith very involved so far, and apparently there's a section here of the crowd who have adopted the Alan Langer promotion from last Tuesday night, and they've got Smithy masks. Now, I haven't seen too many of them yet, so we'll just keep our eyes peeled for Smithy masks.
Well, that'd be a little bit bigger than the Alfie ones, I think. This is Gene Miles up the centre looking for support. Kieran Walters on the spot again, but going to be nailed in the tackle over there. Getting him this time was McCarthy. There's a bit of a mix-up in the play of the ball, and the penalty Broncos.
Peter Jackson calling for a quick tap. He wants it on the left-hand side. Lewis is in command.
And he takes it now. Langer gets it away to Jackson. Jackson over the top to Curry. Curry back inside to Hancock. Loses the ball in the tackle. Dived on by Bagnall, and the Gold Coast have got possession.
Almost a repeat for Michael Hancock to go in where he did in State of Origin. Alfie Langer stolen the ball. It's been called a knock-on by Eddie Ward. And loose head and feet will go to the Giants.
Well, Eddie Ward hasn't been here for a while, but he's not going over too well with the crowd at Lang Park at this stage. However,
there's Alan Langer stealing the ball. Correct decision. Did drag it forward. The ball hit the ground before he regained it. Eddie Ward on the ball.
In by Bagnall. Big push there, but the whole scrum fell apart. And a knock on at the back of the scrum.
There's Billy Johnson. He ended up 5 metres away from the scrum, sprawled on his face.
A big push there by the Broncos.
It was, and of course it's been turned around here now. Loose head and feed the Brisbane side.
In by Langer. It'll be won by the Giants, I'd say. It's trapped in their second row. Bagnall away around the outside, but quickly going to be tackled on that open side of the scrum.
Great work, Billy Johnson. They really needed that one, the Giants, to just hold things a bit. They've been under enormous pressure. Brisbane have looked to go close a number of times. From a long way out, though, they really haven't got to a stage where they put concerted pressure at the Giants line. And really, the Gold Coast side have shown quite a deal of desperation in defence.
So that's Smith taking it up to the quarter line. In underneath was Brett LeMond. They'll swing it back to Dardengo. The fourth tackle, he puts the boot under it this time, so they're very keen to get it out of down there. Just over the head of Duffy, who goes back, picks it up nicely. Bagnall dives at him, puts him down, and then they come from everywhere. Gonzalez in over the top. And Benson involved in that tackle also. So Kilroy away from dummy half. Here's Duffy now at -1 boot. Gets it up to about 10 metres short of that halfway mark. So Kilroy to Lewis. Langer delays the pass, now to Dowling. Back it goes to Langer. Now a bit of room to move. This is Curry. Curry's away. He's up over the quarter line. Lindner's defence is the first one. Tapped him on the ankle. Inside to Hancock. Got away from Bagnall's tackle. Racing for the line, and try number 1 for the Broncos underneath the sticks. And they go to a lead of 4-2.
Superb rugby league. Alan Langer involved again. So is Peter Jackson, Tony Curry, Michael Hancock. What a great back line it is. What a finisher this man is. He was under enormous pressure there when he got the pass up from Tony Curry. Let's have a look at this. There's Dowling caught out wide. Fires the ball. Langer on the wrap around. straight to Tony Curry, sheds the first tackle. Bobby Lindner in chase here, desperation, just skips clear. Pass could have been a suggestion of a touch forward. Eddie Ward didn't think so. Away to Michael Hancock, and he scoots away to score a great length of the field try for the Brisbane side. Tony Curry, one of the best centres in the business, gets away from a desperate tackle there from Bobby Lindner. Ankle tap up to Michael Hancock, and even though he was under pressure, he still took the ball and then scooted away. Too much pace, this fellow. Brings it around and put it under the sticks.
Well, we've waited 28 minutes, but it's worth waiting for. I agree with you, David. A slight suggestion that pass could have been forward. But great finishing by Michael Hancock. He comes around for his 5th try of the year, and Billy's now scored in the last 3 matches for the Broncos, and also 2 here at Lang Park for Queensland against New South Wales just last Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, as I said before, he's playing with so much confidence these days. He really looks good stuff. Right, Terry Madison back onto his mark. Well, he needs about 4 to get his 200 points, doesn't he, Fordo? Well, this should be an easy 2 towards that one.
Yes, this will bring up 48 points also for the season for Madison.
No doubt about it. So the Broncos' lead at Lang Park is 6 points to 2.
Well, 6 points to 2, the scoreline here at Lang Park. A sensational try by the Broncos. It came against the run of play. The Gold Coast side have hung in so well. Let's see if it will lift them in defence. Straight away, they're back into that defensive role, keeping Brisbane pegged down on their own quarter line. But it just goes to show the class of this Brisbane backline. Given the slightest sniff of a try, they can turn it into points.
So many times, David, where we've seen that happen, and who's most times the man that started it all is that Tony Curry.
Well, he's been in great form. There's Bobby McCarthy. He knows his side have done it well so far, but yet they're trailing on the scoreboard for the first time. And we've got around about 9 minutes of play left to half-time. Now Langer to Lewis. And this time Lewis says, let's get it down that end of the ground. Kicking on tackle number 4. It's taken by Dardengo. Well, this fellow's got a very complete game as a fullback, David.
Very solid, yes. He's defended very well thus far. A couple of times he's put in try-saving tackles. He's been on the spot to take a couple of tricky little kicks near his try line. Takes the ball well, as we saw just then, and also he's got one of the biggest kicks in the game. So, nice, rock-solid guy to have at the back.
Well, Wayne Bennett, no doubt, would breathe a sigh of relief because the Broncos have been under enormous pressure. They've turned that pressure back into points, and they lead by 6 points to 2, and that's a bad error by the Giants team. And no doubt, Tony Durkin, this big crowd has enjoyed the first 30 minutes of this match.
Certainly have. It's a magnificent crowd, and the Giants really do respond to a big crowd. They've had 2 big crowds since they've been in the Sydney Premiership. 17,000 at Newcastle. They rolled the Knights that day, and of course 14.5 at the Giants Stadium last year when they beat the Broncos. And I can tell you that a big percentage of this crowd today is behind the Giants.
Well, there's only 6 survivors from that Broncos side of that day, and 2 of those players are now playing in different positions. Joey Kilroy played fullback on that occasion at the Seagull Stadium, and Gene Miles was in the centres. The big Gino is now transformed into a second rower, so much so that he's playing State of Origin and also played for Australia last year in that position. Lewis with the pass back for Miles, running straight upfield, beautiful pass forward, the kick and chase. It probably was the wrong tactic. He had support on the outside, and a try has gone begging. 2
players. Brett Leman was one for sure who would have strolled over. Great move, this one. Lewis to Miles, up to Kerrod Walters. There's the 2 players. Brett Leman and also Duffy would have scored the try untouched. Kerrod Walters too quick to kick.
And Wally Lewis had a bit to say to him too, I can tell you.
I bet he did.
Well, the goal line dropout. But the Coast under pressure. They could have been under more pressure. That could have been a try virtually under the post. It's for Kilroy who fields it on the halfway line. Running with great determination. Oh, and met in a solid tackle. Billy Johnston. Now Dowling. He's been a little bit subdued today to his more recent form. Madison stepped off the left foot. Got it for Walters. For Donnelly. Leman, and Leman takes it inside the attacking quarter. Walters, now Dowling, turn it back for Lewis. He's lost it, a Gold Coast ball.
That's again a big tackle there by Billy Johnson on Greg Dowling. He's certainly keen to show his wares. No doubt Wayne Bennett would have said that the Gold Coast Giants are going to throw everything at his side in the first 30 minutes. He wouldn't have expected to break away to an early lead. He'd be satisfied at this stage to have the nose in front at 6-2, but now he'd be looking for the top of the table side to start asserting their authority, but it doesn't look that way at the moment. The Giants really holding their ground well and certainly haven't been outplayed at this stage.
I'll just look at the flags on the northern end of Lang Park. It appears, Tony Durkin, that they are running with a slight breeze in this first half, the Gold Coast side.
It has freshened the breeze since the start of the game. It's been up and down all afternoon, but certainly has freshened, getting a little chilly down here on the sideline too, and the breeze that is there most certainly is favouring the Giants.
Well, that will be at the back of the Broncos in the second 40 minutes, so it's up to the Giants now to try and turn that breeze into a few points before half-time. They've got around about 6.5 minutes to do that. Jackson stepping well, taking it up to about 8 metres short of halfway. The Broncos bunched. Walters for Langer. Running wide is Miles. Beautiful ball. That's Duffy in the line for Kilroy with room to move. Turn the pass back for Big Gene Miles. Miles up towards the quarter line, but he's swamped in defence of the Gold Coast in cover. It was Bagnall that got across there.
Did a lot of work there, Gino, when you notice. So he really had to motor to get across there to back up Kilroy.
Loose ball on the ground. Final tackle now for the Broncos.
Crowd not agreeing. They thought it was touched by the Giants.
Now Langer. Ball left behind.
Touch this time.
Nobody wanted it. The referee will play the knock on.
And a loose head and feed will go to Brisbane. So the Giants
no, it
now...
won't. It looks as though it's going to go. It's the turnover.
He's called it a knock on by Brisbane. Well, it looked to me like a hand cry from Gibbs in there. But it's called a turnover straight to the Giants.
So the Giants with the ball 10 metres short of halfway. Smith, who was involved in that big hit with Donnelly early in the game. And we have an injured player. It looks as though it might be Bagnall down there, injured for the Gold Coast side. As Close takes it up to halfway, wrestled to the ground by Dowling over the top. Ron Gibbs also receiving a bit of attention in back play. That seems to be par for the course. He's a bit like the old Ray Price days, isn't it? With Ron Gibbs, Billy, he's down and out, and then he's up again and back into it.
I've just worked out what it is. He saw the sun.
Well, that's a rarity, but it's shining very nicely here at Lang Park at the moment. Will it shine for the Gold Coast side as Lindner takes it up? Was that passed off the ground and still alive? Johnson. He's left it behind him, picked up by McCarthy. It's Bagnall with the ball now. Pushes off some feeble defence and gets inside the quarter line before Duffy gets hold of him, and so too does Michael Hancock. Final tackle now for the Giants. Dardengo. He's kicked it straight across field. It's picked up by Joe Kilroy, and 6 more to go to the Coast. We've got a Broncos player down injured, Hancock. But the Coast really putting pressure on.
They should attack this wing of Hancock's. No one at home here on the right-hand side.
Ronnie Gibbs.
There's no one home for the Coast either.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all blanketed on that left-hand side of the field. Bagnall went right. Now Gibbs goes to dummy half. They move it to the left now, this time with Cowell. And he takes Langer on in the centre of the ground, but taken underneath by Donnelly. Bagnall calling the shots from dummy half. Smith coming on the crisscross. Bagnall went on his own. The pass looked forward, and the referee right on the spot to rule on him.
Chris Close it was, trying to take a flat pass off the little halfback Jeff Bagnall. It's a move that the Gold Coast have tried a few times. There's one of the injured players, the Brisbane Bronco winger in Michael Hancock. Was hit heavily in a tackle just a little while ago.
And the penalty.
Inside the 5 metres. Bobby Lindner not packing into the scrum. The action there of the referee throwing 2 hands forward like that, almost like a butterfly stroke, signals that the lock forward has not kept his place in the scrum until the ball's come out.
Well, with Michael Hancock injured, any movement on that Broncos bench with about 2.5 minutes to go to Tony Durkin?
Can't see any, David, but I'd say that the replacement certainly would be young Steve Renouf. In fact, he's the only back from the reserve grade side that's listed as a replacement, but of course they do have Gary French as a fresh reserve.
And here's Gene Miles belting it upfield, takes it right to the halfway line, and Michael Hancock still down. It's been a very slow recovery from that big knock. 6-2, a try in the 28th minute, and what a cracker it was from Michael Hancock. The only try of the match so far. Dowling trying to set it up for the Broncos. Lewis was running off him. Now Langer out of dummy half. Running on his own, got the pass away. Gene Miles has been involved. Final tackle now. Langer is the man at dummy half. It goes to Miles, flat pass for Lewis. Lewis shaped a kick, got the pass away to Donnelly. And this time the big prop forward kicks. Very sloppy play. It looked as though there may have been a slight hint of a knock on, but referee Eddie Ward says play on. Well, Michael Hancock slowly jogging back into position to the very warm ovation of this McAuliffe stand. He certainly created himself in history the other day, scoring 2 tries on debut against New South Wales in his first match for Queensland at State of Origin. Cowell. Got the pass back for Billy Johnston. Now for Bagnall. He's worked very hard for the Giants today. Now Gonzalez. Benson has gone out on the wing for the Gold Coast side. Gibbs for Close. Final tackle now for the Giants. Into the final minute and a half. There's the kick from Dardengo. Good tactics to kick the Hancock too, but he took it very confidently. It could have been a little test for Michael Hancock to see how he had recovered from that knock. Duffy got away from McCarthy. Couldn't get away from Ron Gibbs. Langer, Madison for Lewis. Lewis held the pass up for Curry. He juggled it. G wrapped him up in the tackle. Wrapping around was Dowling, but it was Miles who got it inside to Madison. And Ronnie Gibbs over the top. There's a turnover of possession.
Well, this strong defence by the Gold Coast is really unsettling the Brisbane side. They're looking a little bit gun-shy at the moment.
And Terry Madison very slow to get to his feet again. He's taken, as you mentioned, quite a few knocks to the head in recent matches. And he's well offside at the moment. If the hand's there, that should be 6 more, is it? No.
Eddie Ward signalled the knockback, but didn't notice that it was Gene Miles who touched it. There's Terry Madison, really got a couple of heavy knocks in the game.
There's
Benson
the kick by Benson. Back goes Duffy. 5 metres out from his own goal line. Trying to take it up to the 22. Comes to Benson. And good defence by Peter Benson. Into the final seconds of the first half. A knock on by Kilroy. But too late for it to have any real impact on this first half. It's 6 points to 2. Just the one try. As I mentioned, it came in the 28th minute of the first half by Michael Hancock. Madison converted it, and for the Gold Coast side, Peter Benson, their only points, a penalty goal early in the first half.
Back here ready for the second half of this match. Broncos have a lead of 6 points to 2. There is one change at the half-time break, and here's Tony Durkin with it.
There's a vital change that is too in the Broncos side. Terry Madison is off, and he's been replaced by Mark Hone.
Mark Hone is on, so that I would presume that Michael Hancock will come in as a kicker now. If we saw him a couple of weeks back, pot him over from the touchline.
Quite a competent kicker he is too. I'd say Wayne Bennett at half-time will have told his side the opportunity should be out wide. I'd be very surprised if the Broncos don't try and keep it out wide. On the other hand, the Giants must just hang in there. The longer they hang in, the more pressure's applied.
Alrighty, here's the kick-off as the sunshine comes through again. It's been a strange sort of a day. We've had a mixture of sunshine and showers, and quite heavy ones at times, which made the ball a little bit tricky to handle in that first half of the match, in the early part anyway. Back there to Mark Hone, the replacement player, gets away from Smith, works his way up the centre, goes to ground midway between the quarter and halfway down in Broncos territory. Walters getting it away to James Donnelly. Donnelly up the centre, bang, a big cruncher coming in there from Cowell. That one hurt him too. You could see the spray fly through the sunlight.
Very, very high, Bill. I'm surprised that Cowell hasn't been called out for that one. It's worth having a look at again and replay.
Eddie Ward is going to give the ultimate here. A knock on at the play the ball. James Donnelly in big trouble. Undoubtedly a big swinging arm by Cowell. Let's have a look at it. There's Donnelly coming up. Cowell, the number 10, bang, right across the nose.
And right in front of referee Eddie Ward. I can't believe that one, or the 2 touch judges.
So down he went, and he is still down, as a matter of fact. Waiting for Bagnall to feed, but referee Ward not happy with it. Going to give a penalty to the Broncos.
Well, this might be a get square one, I think. Very seldom we see a penalty for this particular instant. Eddie Ward, I think, realising that Donnelly was well and truly hit high. Penalty subsequently goes to the Broncos. First half penalty, 7-5 there now.
Alrighty.
6-5 in the first half, now 7-5.
That's it. Right, the kick is going to find touch, is it? Yeah, Dardengo takes it into touch.
And touch, though. So loose head and feed the Brisbane Broncos for a scrum. There won't be a tap here now. Be a loose head and feed to Brisbane. And Donnelly still very, very groggy as he makes his way to the halfway line. And he's not going to make his way much further than that. He's certainly not going to make the scrum. And it's surprising that the Brisbane side have not looked at another replacement with Donnelly very groggy.
So it's out to Lewis. Lewis gets it away this time to Duffy, bursting up the centre. No one in support. He had Curry outside, but he wasn't positioned to be able to get the pass to him, but they keep it going. Lewis away to Curry. Curry pulled down, got it back to Lewis. Lewis sent it back to Jackson. Jackson put down about a metre out from that line, away from dummy half. Home will be the dummy half. He goes to blind side, tries to crash over. He's on his back. He's no chance of getting there and no chance of getting it down. Matter of fact, lost a couple of metres. The Giants moving up very quickly. Donnelly says, hello, don't give it to me, but he's got it. And down he goes with it, still trying to recover. The spread it wide, they're a big chance. Out it goes to Jackson, steps back inside. Now he gets it away to Brett LeMan. Can he get the pass away? Knocked back behind, but a referee says a knock on.
Yeah, I agree. Knocked on for mine. It was just propelled marginally forward. Shane Duffy shakes his head. An opportunity once again for the Brisbane side. It was Brett LeMan firing that pass out. Just touched there by Duffy. Picked up by Curry. Scrum to pack.
While they're packing down there, Jeff Bagnall about to feed. Down on the touchline once again is Tony Durkin.
And with me, someone who's just returned from a 6-month stint in England, Darryl Vandervelde, and you look as though you enjoyed it.
It's been great, Tony. It's good to be back, but it's been a good game today too. I've enjoyed it.
Darryl, I noticed Graham Steadman warming up on the sideline, and he was the player that you did recommend to Bob McCarthy.
Well, Graham's coming to Castleford next year from Featherston, so I think he'll make a difference to this game because he's got a good kick and chase game. So I think that's the way they're going to beat the Broncos, is break their defensive up. The defence is very good with the Broncos this in the first half.
Darryl, a good start but a slow finish with Castleford.
Yeah, disappointing, Tony, but ultimately we weren't good enough, and we started off well, and we had some injuries, and once we had injury, we were very, very, very lean with replacements, unfortunately.
Thanks for your time, mate. We'll let you enjoy the rest of the game.
Thanks so much, Tony.
So that's Darryl Vandervelde there, looking very tanned. He's had a week in Spain on the way home and got the all-over tan, straight through the head and straight through the back.
Penalty here going to the Brisbane side, inside the 5 metres after the kick downfield. Eddie Ward being fairly technical today, but at least he's endeavoured to keep the sides back. A little bit of indecision here as Peter Jackson elects to kick for the right-hand touchline.
Once again, here's Tony down there on the touchline.
Graham Steadman, in fact, didn't come on. He was going to go on a kick for Benny Gonzalez, who'd been injured. But it was interesting to note that the only reserve that went in with the Giants at half-time was Steadman, the fresh reserve. The other replacements remained in the dugout, and apparently that is the policy of the Giants. They never go in the dressing room at half-time.
Well, that seems a bit strange. Maybe they're used to ones that aren't dressing rooms that aren't too big or something.
Certainly it is a bit of a risk to run, though, if instructions are going out for the second half play, and they need to call on reserves fairly quickly.
Well, they're still a part of the team, aren't they, at this stage? So here's Gene Miles taking it up now. Miles over the top, or Hancock straight at his head, knocked it down, and the knock on.
Gene Miles is often criticised for that pass while Lewis grits his teeth. Gene Miles really did hold the ball up for quite some time. Hancock slowly to his feet again, was hit heavily after he tried to regain the ball. But Gene Miles really fired that pass at Michael Hancock. He's in trouble as he was in the first half.
Well, some of these Broncos will know they've had a game of football.
Well, the Giants have really hit hard today. They put the Brisbane side off their game, and they're right in this match with a chance.
Broncos hang on to a lead of 6 points to 2 as the Giants bring it up to about 30 metres out from their own line. Steve Renouf warming up down to the touchline.
Oh, Michael.
So I dare say we'll see him for Michael Hancock. That change is going to be effective, Tony?
Yes, Hancock coming off, Steve Renouf coming on. Just too much for Mick Hancock, and a huge reception from this big crowd.
Well, he's had a big week and a couple of big hits on him today, so you can understand why he's not feeling too hot at this stage. Here's the little kick through by G, and the Broncos are going to end up in possession a couple of metres inside their own territory.
Wally Lewis looked in amazement there, felt he was marking up and thought Eddie Ward would have given a penalty for G picking up in the ruck. Ward allowed play to go on.
Walters across to Lewis, outside to Langer. Langer to Curry. Curry working across field to try and get away from McCarthy. Back inside to Renouf. Renouf pulled down a couple of metres short of the halfway mark.
Troy McCarthy has not been overawed by coming up against two of the best centres today.
Greg Dowling knew that he ran into Jim Cowell on that occasion. Crunch. There's been some big hits out there.
That's exactly what the Giants have dished up today. Their defence has been outstanding.
Miles was able to keep it going to Walters, to Lewis, then outside to Jackson. A few men to burn out here, but he goes back the other way. Runs away from them. LeMan to Lewis. It still might be alive, although the cover's getting a little bit closer. Here's Duffy. He decides to cut back inside. Gets it away to Kilroy. Kilroy for the corner. Joey Kilroy's around. He's running around, but it's going to be a try. Gee whiz, it looked as though it was going to break down when Jackson took the wrong option, but then it swung back and away they went.
Yeah, it did look like they bombed it. The ball came out across the back line. Jackson cut back on the inside, but to his credit, managed to stand in the tackle. Couple of quick hands then. Wally Lewis was involved at one stage. There's the pass up to Lewis. Lewis attacks the defence. Very important there to commit someone. Duffy again decides to take them on. Well done, Shane Duffy. Got the ball up to Kilroy. This guy's one of the best finishers in the game. couldn't be stopped by Gonzalez there on the corner post, and Joe Kilroy comes around to improve the position. He's worked very hard today, Joe Kilroy. Got a lot of work out on the right-hand wing. This is good work from Duffy. Zigged in and then back out again. Made sure he found Joe Kilroy. Gave him that bit of extra pace. He shed a couple of feeble attempts at cover defence, Joe Kilroy. Brings it around to give the kicker, Wally Lewis, an improved angle.
Yeah, it's great play by Duffy to really drag the defence in and get it away to Kilroy for his 5th try, but full marks to Wally Lewis. I watched him when he got the ball. That great vision of Lewis. He looked up, saw where the options were, set up the play on the right-hand side, and these two fine players, Duffy and Kilroy, did all the finishing. And Bill, it came at such a crucial time, 7 minutes into the second half.
Yeah, well, the Coast have been doing a great job up until then. They've been defending extremely well, some very heavy hits, and there's quite a few Bronco players that'll bear testimony to that one. But they've weathered the storm and in for the try. But I did think it was going to break down. But Duffy took the right option again, didn't he? Cut back in and took a couple of them, and then to unload was just good stuff. G leaving the field. Replacement Tony will wait for the kick by Lewis. Oh, not a good one, Walter. Away low and to the left. That replacement is
Graham Steadman is the replacement for Mark G.
Broncos lead by 10 points to 2. Coming back ready for the kick-off right now. Dardengo starts it deep downfield, taken back there by Gene Miles. And Miles will run it up. Still going as Miles, eventually put to the ground of the tackle of Billy Johnston. So Walters to dummy half. There's men running everywhere for the Broncos now. That try has given them quite a lift into this second half. Dummy half is Walters. He decides to go himself. Now he gets it outside to Dowling. Dowling up the centre, gets to the halfway mark. This is more like the Broncos.
Yeah, Cal over the top again.
So back it goes to Lewis. Lewis with a kick underneath. Driving it downfield. Third tackle on that occasion, kicking. Dardengo back there.
Interesting, Bill. I'd say that they believe that the Giants will have great difficulty scoring from a long way out. So if they keep them pinned inside their own territory for the majority of the second half, the Gold Coast side will struggle.
So now it's Bagnall up there as dummy half, works across field. Interested to see this Graham Steadman in action here today.
Well, Darryl Vandervelde, as we just heard before, has got some pretty big raps on him, and he'll be keen to impress.
So there's the boys down in the Broncos den, waiting to see whether they get a go or not. Final tackle coming up. Back to Dardengo, away to Steadman. Steadman up the centre, puts the boot underneath it. Goes it straight across over there to Renouf. Renouf will one straight ahead, but is going to be wrapped up in the defence. So from the play, the ball striking at it over there was Cowell, but it's still a Broncos ball, and another 6 tackle as Jackson takes it up. Jackson will be put to the ground a couple of metres short of that halfway mark. So the Broncos just inside their own territory. They lead by 10 points to 2. Neil Hunt warming up. What's the change, Tony?
Neil Hunt in jersey number 16 will come on to replace Troy McCarthy, who unfortunately has damaged that shoulder of his yet again.
Well, he's worked very, very hard in defence, McCarthy, but Curry was the man that took it over halfway, and a mistake by the Broncos. And referee Eddie Ward will pack the scrum down.
Alan Langer put pressure on himself there, trying to stand as the pivot and very close to the dummy half position. Allowed the defence to get at him and also put pressure on. Chance for the Giants.
There's the scrum win by the Giants. Steadman. Featherstone Rovers player, was in the Great Britain train-on squad in '89, also played for Yorkshire against Lancashire and the Royal Roses. So he comes to the Gold Coast Giants very, very well credentialed. And as Darryl Vandervelde mentioned, is joining Castleford next season in Great Britain. Lindner on the blind side, bumped out of the tackle of Donnelly. 10-2. The Broncos lead the Giants, and we've had about 10 minutes or 12 minutes to play in the second half. Steadman showing good skills. Benson on the outside, gave it to Gonzalez. Gonzalez came on the inside of Kilroy, but Kilroy read it well. Quick play the ball now. There's the kick from Steadman, rolling end on end. Will it find touch? Duffy comes across, pressure from Benson. That's a good chase.
Well, Shane Duffy stood and looked at that ball initially, thinking it was going to go into touch, and really couldn't afford to take chances. Gene Miles!
Big Gene Miles takes it up over the quarter line. Geez, he's played very, very solidly today. He's relished running a bit wide of the ruck today too, David. But he's also done the hard work when it's been required.
He has, and I think after his great performance last Tuesday evening in State of Origin, he should be allowed that luxury of getting out a little bit wider. Mistakes by the Brisbane side. Duffy knocked that one on. and a chance again for the Giants to go on the attack.
Well, it's allowed the Giants to attack just outside the quarter line. That's exactly what the Broncos wouldn't have wanted. They tried to keep them down there into the ground. But now the Giants, can they turn it back into points? Good pass from Cowell to Gibbs. Gibbs is wrestled on the ground by Lewis around the neck. Bagnall looking for options on the left-hand side, finding Smith. The big prop forward burrows his way upfield about 5 metres inside the attacking quarter. Stedman with the ball out for Bagnall. The wraparound with Bagnall, but he's dropped the ball as he came on the outside of Dardengo. But let's give full credit to the Broncos defence, who was up very quickly indeed.
There's a little wraparound by Bagnall. Just took his eye off the ball for a moment, and Walters on the spot to regain.
Leman. Langer now a dummy half for Miles. Oh, good bust by the big second rower. The Broncos looking a bit ominous at the moment. Jackson, the pass for Curry. Held the pass up, gave it to Kilroy. He straightened it, got it to Curry. Good play by the Bronco backline. But close comes in great cover. Oh, Kerrod Walters into open space, fullback to beat. But he couldn't get the ball away. Good tackle by Dardengo. Now Langer gave it to Donnelly. He's in for his second try of the year, and it's right under the black dot. It's 14 points to 2, and the Broncos probably have scored the try that could put the seal on the match.
Champagne Rugby League, a few congratulations for the try scorer, but there's three guys coming back to congratulate Tony Curry back on the 22-metre line. It was really his try. He got the Broncos into this position. Beautiful ball out of Langer to put Donnelly into the gap, and it was a simple matter then for the big front rower to stroll across and put it down under the stick. There it is, the last pass up from Langer. Positioned Donnelly nicely, straight onto the ball, under the post, but really put it down to Tony Curry. Fired a ball out a little while ago, out to Joe Kilroy, and then wrapped him straight away.
Couldn't agree any more on that one, David. And that's what I admire about this bloke. He's always here to clean up those scraps and keep the ball moving. And then if someone looks like make a break, he can take the ball and all and knock it down.
Exactly, Bill. And you know, the way he did it too, when he threw it to Joe Kilroy, it could have been a case of it could have been a dump for Kilroy. There was just Kilroy was covered one-on-one, but the fact that he came around again, presented himself for the extra pass, made sure that the try was on later on.
And Wally Lewis converts from right in front of the goalpost, so a 14-point lead by Brisbane over the Gold Coast. And Tony Durkin, another change.
That change has just been made. Neil Hunt on for Troy McCarthy, and Greg Whitbread is warming up on the sideline. He will come on to replace big Chris Close.
Just having a look at Walters run through there. Maybe that was the time where he should have put the little kick in rather than one before.
Wayne Bennett might have had a couple of words to him in the first half.
So Duffy allows the ball to bounce. Takes the ball 10 metres out from his own goal line and takes tackle number 1. Kilroy goes into dummy half. Hone. Walters out for Donnelly. Centre of the field, 25 metres out, Dowling. Good solid run. Cowell came in again. He's been very, very involved, Jim Cowell. Now Lewis turning the Gold Coast around again. Kicking on the 4th tackle, driving it back for Dardengo. Another great bit of defence we didn't have time to really elaborate on before, but another great example of this Dardengo's defence just a few moments ago, David.
Yeah, one-on-one, even though it was Hooker coming at him. Kerrod Walters, very talented player, quick on his feet, and an open paddock like that, you would have thought that Walters had a very good chance of beating Dardengo, but he made sure he kept him on the touchline and did his job.
Now a chance for Duffy to attack. The Coast kicked on the 2nd tackle. It's allowed the Broncos to come on attack again. Curry for Renouf. He'll have too much pace. Renouf for the corner. Oh, great tackle by Dardengo again.
Off the
Back
ground,
to Langer
off the
and the
ground.
penalty.
Well, the young fellow just a little bit over keen there. Well and truly effectively stopped and held by Dardengo. What a performance he's put in today, Dardengo. Young Steve Renouf was just a little bit too keen to keep the ball alive. But gee, beautiful play. Tony Curry again to send this fellow away. Renouf, there's Dardengo, cover defence, copybook by the ankle. There he is, effectively held. And the fact that he still had his hand on him then, there's no chance that even though you get back or half back to your feet, you can pass. Correct decision. And the Giants now to try and work their way back out of their own quarter.
Well, what a signing this boy's been for Morris Brothers Lismore Club. He played there from 84 to 87. He's a former Australian schoolboy, Terry Dardengo, and last year represented New South Wales country.
Had very big raps when he arrived at the Coast earlier this year, and he's lived up to them all the way.
Well, Chris Close leaving the field We're talking about his state of origin. We're reading the origin history the other day, David, on the plane coming back from Sydney, where he got the 2 first Man of the Match awards here in 80 and 81. And what a great career he's had. 100 first-grade games with Manly, and has given every club he's played with great service.
He certainly has, and back in those days when he was playing in the centres, a really champion player he was, and still playing a very good brand of football even at this stage of his career. And he's now with Tony Durkin.
Well, Chris, the old knee playing up.
Yeah, I just twisted it when I went to tackle Tony Curry on the far side.
Well, like the first game last year, mate, it's been a rugged encounter out there.
Yeah, it's been very hard. Both teams have tried their hardest, but unfortunately for us, the Broncos have been shining around a little bit more in the second half, and it's telling on the scoreboard.
16-2, probably a bit hard to come back from here.
Oh, well, you never say die, Tony. You know, it's a game of rugby league and anything could happen. I just hope the boys can rally up now and come home with it.
We'll let you go and rest that knee.
Thanks, Tony.
Chris Close there talking with Tony Durkin as Lewis gets involved in the wraparound again, kept the ball alive with a man. Difficult pass for him to take, but he still keeps the ball moving with Donnelly. And you can see Donnelly holding the ball up, trying to find Langer again on the outside. Final tackle, it's for Lewis. They decided to run it on the final tackle. They turn over possession. 12th drop ball by the Brisbane Broncos in the match. And Dardengo coming up from fullback. Taken low in the tackle by Walters. Beautiful pick up by Bagnall. But he runs straight into Wally Lewis. So one of the great champions of the past, Keith Holman. I wonder what notes he's making in that selector's notebook there, Tony Durkin.
He's a Metropolitan selector, Keith Holman, and he just told me he's up here to assist the New South Wales selectors in the selection of their State of Origin team next week, and no doubt one of the players he's particularly looking at is Ron Gibbs.
Oh, there's the knock on. Neil Hunt, an unhappy entrance into this first-grade match.
A poor pass, that one, from Jim Cowell. Greg Dowling was certainly giving him plenty of attention because Cowell has dished out plenty today, and Hunt tried to pick up the ball on the ground, knocked it on.
Of course, Neil Hunt played in that side that won the reserve grade match today against the Brisbane Broncos, as they did at Cunningham Field last year. Langer, long pass for Lewis. Cut out, no, he gave it to Jackson, who straightened it. Benson was there to effect the tackle, along with Whitbread.
Maybe Keith Holman was writing down Dardengo's name. How did he get out of the state?
Well, he's had a great match today for the Gold Coast Giants. And a penalty goes against the Giants.
Will have to come delaying in the play the ball. This will give the Brisbane side a good opportunity to add another 6 tackles and really put pressure on the Giants side. Wayne Bennett, really the match going according to plan. He would have expected the Giants side to come out full bore in the early minutes. Exactly what happened. The Giants actually held the lead until the 30th minute of the game. The Brisbane side have since really put their game together. Whilst it hasn't been one of their top line performances, they've done their job, and it appears at this stage they should come away with the 2 premiership points. 20 minutes to go.
There's Hone. Crisscross there with the forwards in Hone and Dowling, and now Donnelly takes it up inside the attacking quarter. Quick play the ball required by the Broncos. It's for Dowling. Stood in the tackle, Greg Dowling. Only 8 metres short of the line.
Lewis has got something on.
Blindside Lewis, the wraparound. Miles. Pass for Jackson. Duffy held up. So close to the line.
And up over the line. Duffy was actually walked across the line there, and from a situation which could have resulted in a quick play the ball. Now there'll be a scrum.
So the score 16-2, the Broncos in the lead.
Waiting for the scrum to pack down again. A big push there from the Broncos as the ball was about to go in the first one. Billy Johnson losing his boot in the process, so he's down there trying to put that on. Crowd not too happy about that either.
I'm not surprised. Very generous by Eddie Ward.
So they get it. Bagnall running around the open side. Going to be wrapped up, though, by Brett LeMan getting over there. And from the play the ball now, they're running it out with Lindner, getting up to the quarter line. Bagnall dummy half again. Hunt. Going to be wrapped up in centre field. Broncos lead is 16-2. They led by 6-2 at the half-time break. A couple of tries in this second half. Gibbs with his pass to Billy Johnston. Johnston over the top, going to be pulled down by Dardengo. Tony Curry eventually grabs him. Just has a hold of the sleeve of the jersey to pull him down. To Bagnall again. Still keeps trying, this little fellow. Final tackle, played forward, kicked through. Oh, Renouf let it go.
Well, just as well he did. Had he risked trying to take that ball there, could easily have been a knock on, but his side now still gets loose head and feed. Not worth taking the chance, but really an indication of just how competitive Jeff Bagnall is, the way he played the ball forward and kicked again.
Gary French warming up down there, Tony. We'd like to see him.
I'd say we are likely to see Gary French. This will be the last replacement the Broncos can make, though, because in effect with Mark Hone replacing Terry Madison in the sin bin and then coming back on again, they've already made 3 replacements. Not sure who he will be replacing, though. We'll find out.
Keep an eye out for that one as Langer lines up at the scrum. In it goes. Out of the back of the scrum, away it goes to Lewis. Lewis in turn to Duffy. Duffy straight up the centre. Dardengo spots him across field and puts him down. Langer to dummy half. Duffy a little slow on the play of the ball. He felt that tackle. This is Jackson. Plenty of giants out there to take care of the defence.
Shane Duffy in big trouble.
Walters to Langer, then away to Gene Miles. Miles right over the top to Renouf with a bit of room to move. He's up over the halfway. Bagnall's the first line of cover, and Bagnall takes him ball and all. Good work.
Great work, Jeff Bagnall. Just hemmed him on the touchline, and to get a guy in that position and get him with full body contact is a big effort.
LeMan with the long floater going to be picked up by Wally Lewis. He dummies now. He sends it over the top. It'll be taken by Kilroy. Kilroy's got plenty of Gold Coast giants in front of him and wrapped up in the tackle. Duffy still down there injured in that tackle. Not sure what it is. It looks like shoulder or collarbone or something up there. This is Dowling.
He's had shoulder problems earlier this season.
Final tackle. Dummy half waiting for it is Kieran Walters. Feeds away to Lewis on the blind side. Then away to Donnelly. Back inside to Jackson. Jackson still going over the top to Walters, to Kilroy, doubling around to Langer. Ends up in Walters' hands to Hone. Oh, he's pulled down. The ball flies loose. But the referee will call the changeover.
He decided the tackle had been affected there on Mark Hone. What a passage of play by Brisbane. There's Shane Duffy. He looks in a bit of trouble. The arm, the wrist area being supported. He took a pass off Wally Lewis from the base of the scrum and found it very difficult to get to his feet to even play the ball.
So Gary French will be the replacement player. Meanwhile, this is Hunt. Dummy half is Johnston. Johnston back over there.
Tony Curry dropping back to fullback as he did here a couple of weeks ago against Illawarra.
Well, he's a versatile sort of a player. Tony, you've got a story here on Duffy.
Straight from the horse's mouth, Duff tells me it's an AC joint. So not a PC joint, but an AC joint for Shane Duffy.
Well, that was the same problem he had last time, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. So Shane Duffy could be on his sideline for some time if that's serious.
So Johnston getting it away to Steadman. Well, no, it wasn't Steadman on that occasion. Taking it up was Whitbread. Johnston. Kick coming in this time. Going to be out on the fall.
Well, once again, the Gold Coast side have found it difficult to put an attack together. On that occasion, a poor attempted kick by Scott Meany. And silly interference here. And the Brisbane side will get another penalty. Allows them to go on the attack again. The penalties favour the Brisbane side by 10-6.
Billy, you're after tipping the crowd earlier. You said 20,000 to me. It was you're only 9 short. 19,992. What a great crowd.
I think I'm 8 short, really, aren't I?
8 short. Did I just do my math?
Dearie me. That Mother's Day massacre was too much for you. This is Dowling on the bustle. Dowling just short of the line, a couple of metres out. Plenty of men out right if they get it there. And the Gold Coast a little bit short, but no, Walter sends it the other way. The ball thrown down behind. What's the referee going to rule? A knock on in here.
Lewis amazed at the decision. The crowd very disgruntled. Lewis pointing back at one of the Giants players. Looked like Cal had a few words to say. There's Lewis getting the pass away. Brett LeMan did touch his fingertips. Eddie Ward decided there it was drawn towards the touchline. Here's another penalty just to settle things down a bit, I think. Getting a little bit out of hand. Cal giving Donnelly a bit of a hug more than anything, and then a bit of a push in the face. This is silly. Eddie Ward's going to really break things up now by marching the players for a second penalty. And not bad refereeing there by Ward to ensure they got players out of it. And now he's going to call Lewis over. These two have had a running battle over the years. In the last 12 months, they haven't had much of a running battle because, as we said earlier in the piece, Eddie Ward has not had Broncos matches. And then here at the last minute, he's asking Eddie Ward for a final instruction. Tony Durkin.
it's very interesting. I think Eddie Ward was very fired up then at something that Wally had said to him, and I'm sure that Bob Lindner quelled the fire, because Bob Lindner said something to Eddie Ward with a smile, and I'm sure it was something along the lines of go easy.
So now the kick is going to find touch, and they'll take the tap with Billy Johnston on the mark, about 8 metres short of that halfway mark. So Johnston dummy half, as it's played up there by Smith. Across to Bagnall. Still going around is Cowell. Cowell just short of halfway. Broncos lead is 16-2. They certainly haven't had it all their own way, but they've had to turn out some good football to get those tries. This is Benson, gets it away nicely outside to Gonzalez. Tackled by Curry, though.
Well done, Gonzalez, to stay in the field of play.
Dardengo to Steadman. Steadman across over there to Bagnall. Bagnall now to Johnston. Johnston, I thought Lindner had lost it there, but he retained the ball. That was a good bit of work. Bagnall down to the back play. So now back it comes this time to Steadman again, stepping his way through.
Jeff Bagnall jumped back to his feet there, obviously looking for a penalty. You won't win any friends that way, Jeff.
Ball flies across over there to Renouf on the kick through, and Broncos ended up with possession about 10 metres out from their own line. So Hone from the dummy half. Walters. Well, while the Broncos are working their way down there, a gentleman who left the field earlier, he's changed, had a shower on the lot, is Michael Hancock. He's with Tony now.
Showers nice and warm, were they, Michael?
Yeah, mate, not too bad.
And they tell me you got a knock in a rather awkward position.
Yeah, mate, I thought I was pretty hard to walk at the moment, so he took me off.
Well, another try today, 2 on Tuesday night. You're certainly fired up.
Yeah, mate, everything it was pretty good out there, so my TC and we got a good understanding, so it's pretty good.
16-2 with 10 minutes to go. Do you think the Broncos are home?
Oh, mate, I think we're just got to sort of keep going forward and just stop our little mistakes.
All the best.
So Michael Hancock obviously won't be at the underground tonight. So now it's the Giants in possession, just short of the halfway mark. Running across field is Gonzalez. He'll be tackled over there by Renouf coming underneath. Now there's a Giants player down injured right upfield. He
was the one who went through on the Gene Miles kick downfield. Ron Gibbs, it is very slow to get back to his feet. He charged at Gene Miles and both came just into a clash. Gibbs now back to his feet. There he is, the trainer, just to check with him, but he's still not in good condition at all.
Well, last year he did a job on Gene Miles and a very big hit at the Seagull Stadium.
And that was just after he took care of Walter Lewis too, wasn't it? Johnston with a long one, a wild one. It's going to be picked up though. And going to ground with it over there will be Gonzalez. Here's a kick through.
Touched by Brisbane. Wally
Lewis
Lewis
knocks
taps
it back in field, picked up by Dowling.
The touch guard signalling there that the ball had already gone out when Wally Lewis tried to throw it. Tony Durkin down on the sideline, spotted something in back play. Gonzalez down.
Well, I don't know whether it was in back play. It was certainly on the ball, and it did appear as though an elbow by Greg Dowling may have connected with...
Here it is on camera now. There's Gonzalez coming in. Certainly Dowling was aware that the play was over. Gonzalez had no need whatsoever to come in at him in any such fashion.
He's called out Gene Miles for something that happened further up there.
It may even been Scott Meaney too that came in on Dowling.
While they're talking there, we'll leave you here at the moment. The Broncos with a lead of 16-2.
Well, Scott Meaney's still receiving attention in back play. The referee has heard a report from a touch judge on the far side, but for an incident totally unrelated to the Dowling incident. Now he's speaking with Greg Dowling. I think Eddie Ward must have seen it himself.
There'll be a penalty now to come out of this. The fact that Eddie Ward is on the spot where the incident occurred had to mean that there was a penalty going to go to the Gold Coast side. Yes. Wally Lewis speaking again to Eddie Ward. This getting quite out of hand, this. Wally Lewis standing up to eyeball Eddie Ward. Things that want to cool. The game is basically won with 8 minutes to go. There's Scott Meaney leaving the field. He charged at Greg Dowling. The play had been dead at that stage, and that's why Dowling objected strongly to the attack by Meaney. Obviously, Meaney hadn't heard the whistle.
Ron Gibbs takes it up as Mark Ross comes on as the replacement player for Scott Meaney on the right wing for the Gold Coast. So it's the Giants in possession of the ball, giving it to Smith. Back for Bagnall. Nowhere to go because Donnelly was right in front of him and took him ball and all. So things just getting a little bit heated. Whitbread. Lewis over the top. Johnston calling the shots from dummy half. And a bit of a clash again with Whitbread and Lewis. Exchanging a few little blows there, but nothing of any consequence. Now they move it again. The kick through by Steadman. Kilroy knocked the ball on. A chance been knocked on by Benson as well. And the referee will play the original lock on by Kilroy.
Once again, the Giants with a chance now. They've got a good attacking position, base of the scrum. There's Kilroy. The bounce was an awkward one. He just had to put it on the fingertips, knocked forward there. Quickly onto it was Peter Benson. He then knocked it forward as well. Giants have won the scrum. Linder.
Off the back, it goes to Steadman. Now in turn for Hunt, he threw the dummy, got around Lewis, passed the ball back in field. It's gone loose on the ground, and it's a Broncos ball.
And lost again.
So another scrum will pack down, 10 metres out, right under the goalpost. Loose head and feet to the Broncos. They lead by 16 points to 2. They led 6-2 at half-time. Tries in the second half by Joe Kilroy and James Donnelly. The first half try in the 28th minute by Michael Hancock was an absolute gem. Set up by this man, Tony Curry. Now French looking for Miles on the blind side. That pass looked a little forward. Seen that Miles had overrun it, but referee Ward allows play to go on Walters, away for Hone, and Hone takes it over the quarter line as Gonzalez comes in from this left wing to effect a tackle. Now Dowling, taken high by Smith. Cowell was in the middle and Whitbread was in there as well. Watch the kick of Lewis, throwing it back now for Curry. Curry angling it towards touch. It's still in the field of play. It's rolling end on end. It won't find touch. It's picked up one-handed by Dardengo, but beautifully hit low by Hone. Good defence by Mark Hone. Gonzalez for Bagnall. Gonzalez again, wasn't expecting it. Donnelly was there. Underneath was Walters. The dummy half is Benson. For Cowell. The big man just stood in the tackle. Well, one of these scores that has come through from the Penrith-Canterbury game won't please a very ardent Canterbury supporter. There's a Network 10 personality. He's with Tony Durkin.
Warren Jones plays Constable Paul Berry in East Street, and I believe you're a Canterbury supporter. 36-0. Penrith leading at the moment.
Absolutely, I'm horrified. They need some help, I tell you.
Well, you look pretty good in that Broncos jersey. You've obviously enjoyed the game.
Yeah, I have enjoyed the game, but I'm wearing it under sufferance. I want you to know that. I mean, I think I should be at Penrith Park.
Well, Warren, you do play a policeman in East Street, and maybe they could have done with the policeman out there today, because there's been a few illegalities.
Yeah, there certainly has, particularly that last one with Mr. Bacco, but yeah.
And if you don't think Canterbury can make it, so what do you think of the Broncos' chances?
I think they're a great team. I mean, I just love watching them play. I mean, the ball goes out to the back line, particularly with the likes of Curry. I mean, why we got rid of Curry is a mystery.
What are you going to do with the jersey? Give it back or take it home?
I'll have to take it home. I don't know whether I wear it. I think I get stoned in the streets if I wear it somehow.
All right, Warren, all the best, and all the best with East Street.
Thank you very much.
Should give Warren a program as well, Tony, as we see Dowling hit the ball up, because it was Mr. Dowling and not Mr. Bacco, but Mr. Dowling could well know he's been held up in the in-goal.
Second time it's happened to the Brisbane side. They've been held up over the line twice, an indication of the determination of the Gold Coast team. At least when they've had their backs to the wall, they have held out pretty well, but it's been the back line of the Broncos that the Gold Coast side have been unable to contain.
Into the final 5 minutes. 8-7 the scrums in favour of the Gold Coast Giants, but the scoreline favouring Brisbane Broncos by 16 points to 2. Another penalty.
Had to be collapsing the scrum, Brisbane. They did try and set up that big push when they've got the tight head, and on that occasion it didn't work for them, and they collapsed on the right-hand side of the scrum, relieving penalty.
So the tap restart by the Gold Coast side just outside their 22, and that's a big run by Smith, but good defence by Dowling. Donnelly was the man that wrapped him up over the top and the ball and all. For Bagnall, looking for his runner in Cowell, but he took the tackle. Mark Hone was the man. Bagnall runs on his own, driven by Dowling and Donnelly, and the penalty.
Well, he's found a penalty for an illegal tackle, and could be interesting. Once again, players talking. It looked like Eddie Ward had to say something to Greg Dowling then. The Broncos will want to be careful. There's the driving tackle. Eddie Ward deciding a penalty will suffice. Second penalty in a row to the Gold Coast side.
Dardengo to look for touch on the far side. And now the whole of Lang Park virtually in the shadow as the sun sets in the west. But it's been a tremendous performance by the Brisbane side. It's been a committed side from the Gold Coast. They trail by 6-2. They're trailing 16-2 at the moment, after having taken the honours at the Seagull Stadium last year. They came out firing again in this round 10 clash.
Plenty of needle in this match, and Whitbread's the man that copped the verbal needle then, and when he dropped the ball, Wally Lewis was shoulder charged heavily a little while ago when he got a kick away by Whitbread, and a few players had a few words to say to Whitbread just there. They had to be offside. It's becoming a bit of a farce. Penalties really flooding to both sides now as either the Giants or the Broncos infringe. It's really spoiled the match, really. I don't think you can necessarily blame Eddie Ward. He's endeavoured to keep control, but there's just been too much needle out there, and that has affected continuity.
23 penalties in about 70-odd minutes of football.
Knocked on by the Giants. There'll be a scrum and loose head and feed Brisbane. Very unusual to see Wally Lewis fail the fine touch. Wayne Bennett there with a really stern look on his face. He wouldn't be happy with the way his side has necessarily played today. They haven't really clicked, but certainly when that back line has gone into motion, it's looked pretty good.
Lewis popped the pass up at Curry, who linked in from that fullback position. Jackson to Langer. Langer with the kick and chase. Back goes Dardengo. He's just outside his own goal line. Look at Langer come at him, and he mows him down in a copybook tackle.
Well, penalty, yes. Correct decision. Going to the Broncos. Langer was there to mark up. Dardengo didn't like it. And the Giants, this is just ridiculous.
They're still all offside as Hancock.
Touch.
They're offside. There should be a penalty. 6 more to go, says the referee.
Penalty will come. No,
well,
not
he's not going to rule the penalty. The Gold Coast side never at any stage got back onside.
Lewis once again, hands on hips, shakes his head and looks at the ref. And Bobby McCarthy, hands up to the face, really disappointed. His side promised so much, but once again, attackers let them down.
Back at the scrum was the man that came off, and they went open side. French with a good jinking run. Got outside Benson. The ball's been knocked forward by a Gold Coast player. Taken back by Ronnie Gibbs. That should be a goal line dropout.
Well, Brisbane trying to do a few things. Gary French almost got through. The pass was then knocked down by the Gold Coast side. Quickly picked up Ronnie Gibbs after coming out of that scrum. And Brisbane have forced a goal line dropout. One last chance to add further points.
Into the final minutes of play. Well, in fact, into the final seconds, the full-time hooter sounds. The clock stops here at with 5 minutes to go, but it was no help to the Gold Coast side, who trailed by 6-2 at half-time. They have been defeated in this round 10 clash of the Winfield Cup by 16 points to 2. Tries coming by Hancock, Kilroy and Donnelly. Madison and Lewis each kicked a goal. The only points came in the Gold Coast side, the 2 points that opened the scoring from the right boot of Peter Benson. Final score, Brisbane Broncos 16, the Gold Coast Giants 2. We'll be back here at Lang Park on the other side of this commercial break.